What if I told you the solution to clean fuel wasn't buried deep underground, but was actually sitting in your trash can? Seriously. Today we're going to look at this incredible story out of Switzerland, where one waste disposal facility is turning everyday garbage into a super high-tech green energy source. Okay, so let's just get right into it, because the scale here is kind of mind-blowing. We are talking about hundreds of thousands of tons of waste. So how on earth does that become a key ingredient for the future of clean energy? Let's break it all down. All right, so our story kicks off with an organization called the Association for Waste Disposal, or VA for short. It was formed way back in 1960 by 42 Swiss municipalities, and their job was, to manage waste. But as you're about to see, their approach has become anything but simple. To really get what they're doing, you have to start with this number: 190,000 tons. That is the insane amount of waste the VFA processes every single year. It's just a colossal amount, right? But here's the key. They don't just bury it. They see it as a resource. So, by incinerating all that waste, they generate over 100 gigawatt hours of electricity every year. And what's really, really clever is they also capture the heat from that whole process and pipe it directly to local industries for their heating needs. I mean, just that dual-purpose system alone saves 40,000 tons of CO2 every year. But this is where the story takes a really unexpected turn. Now, you'd think that generating all this energy is just a complete win-win. But believe it or not, the rise of renewable energy across the grid has actually created this strange new problem for producers like the VFA. It sounds like a great problem to have, doesn't it? Oh no, we have too much clean power from solar and wind. But when the supply just completely overwhelms the demand, it creates a totally bizarre economic situation for anyone trying to sell power. And that situation has a name: negative electricity prices. Yep, you heard that right. It means there's so much power floating around on the grid that producers actually have to pay money just to get rid of their electricity to avoid overloading the whole system. You are literally losing money for creating energy. It's wild. So here's where the VFA got really smart. They saw this challenge not as a disaster, but as a catalyst. They realized this whole problem also created a strategic opportunity to diversify. So instead of just letting that excess, basically worthless electricity go to waste, they asked a brilliant question. What if we could transform it into something else? And the answer they came up with, well, it's elegant, it's powerful, and it's incredibly forward-thinking: green hydrogen. They decided to use that surplus energy to create one of the absolute cleanest fuels on the entire planet. Okay, so this diagram basically lays out their entire vision. You can see right here how the electricity overproduction, that cheap excess power we were just talking about, gets funneled into an electrolysis process. That creates hydrogen for vehicles and industry. And it also shows the next step they're thinking about: using recovered CO2 to create even more synthetic fuels. Just brilliant. And the science behind it is actually pretty straightforward. Step 1, you take that surplus electricity that would otherwise be sold for nothing or even at a loss. Step 2, you use it to power something called an electrolyser, which splits water molecules, H2O, into oxygen and hydrogen. And then, step 3, you just capture and store that pure green hydrogen gas. Simple as that. Now, having an amazing concept on paper is one thing, but turning it into a real, working industrial plant, that's a whole other challenge. So let's see how this plan goes from a diagram to a full-blown facility. And here it is. This is reality taking shape. This rendering shows the whole planned hydrogen production and refueling station. You can see the containerized units where they'll make the stuff, the big storage tanks, and even a hydrogen refueling station right there on site, ready for trucks. This really makes the whole project feel real,
Of course, a project this complex, you can't do it alone. You need a team of absolute experts. So the VFA brought in H2 Energy to manage the whole build. The heart of the system, the electrolyzer, that comes from NEL Hydrogen. And you've got critical tech from Burkhardt Compression and Maximator Hydrogen. It's a real all-star team.
Okay, so they've turned their trash into electricity, and they've turned their extra electricity into hydrogen. Now for the final and maybe the most satisfying step of all, putting that hydrogen to work and creating a perfect circular system. This is where it all just comes together so beautifully. First, they're going to use the hydrogen to power their own fleet of waste collection trucks. I mean, think about that for a second. The trash being collected is literally creating the fuel for the trucks that collect it. It's amazing. They'll also power other service vehicles and then sell any extra hydrogen they have into Switzerland's national green hydrogen network. And let's not forget the huge environmental impact here. Remember, their original waste-to-energy process was already saving 40,000 tons of CO2 a year. This new hydrogen loop just makes their whole operation even cleaner, reducing their carbon footprint even more by creating a zero-emission fuel right on site. But they're not even stopping with hydrogen. The next frontier for the VFA is to capture the CO2 that comes out of their incinerator and actually combine it with their green hydrogen. This process, called synthesis, can create other climate-neutral fuels, like synthetic methanol, turning what was once a waste product into yet another valuable resource. So this incredible project in a small Swiss community really leaves us with this huge, inspiring question. What the VFA is doing is creating a blueprint. They're proving that the problems of waste management and energy surpluses can actually be the foundation of their own solution. It's a model where a city's trash really can become its own clean energy treasure.